Good morning, rock stars, and welcome back to our Aldebaran Show and Yell. My name is Holly and Knight of String and Story, and it is my job to guide you to quote with confidence. Y'all, I can't believe that today is the last day of the Aldebaran Quilt Along. We have had a wonderful couple of months together. It's been really fun to see your quilts coming together. And I've got 6 gorgeous quilts to share with you. We have included all of the quilts that got sent to us. So if for any reason your quilt isn't here, make sure that you post it in the Facebook group so everyone can still see. And always make sure that you submit those quilts via the Airtable link that we send out because it's really fun to get to share your work. Jan, oh my gosh. Okay. Good morning, Susan. Good morning, Jan. Happy birthday. Jan is a Dollywood. It's her birthday. So everyone say happy birthday to Jan in the chat. Good morning, Edith. She's in scenic Texas. Life happens, so mine is still unstitched on the design wall. Okay, but post an update photo for us in the community, okay? Because we still want to see it. Sarah says, "Good morning. I'm so excited to see all the pretties." Susan said, "I did not get all of my blocks. I did get all of my blocks together, but that's as far as I made it." Susan, same thing. I want to see an update photo. You don't have to have these totally done to submit them, by the way. Like, we just love seeing progress and getting to celebrate the fact that you worked on a thing, right? Mine is still in half blocks, if that makes you feel any better. And I'm teaching how to quilt it in 6 days. Okay. Jan says, "I'm working on my second one. In space fabric. I think it's going to be so neat. Jan, I cannot wait to see that." Carolyn says, "Good morning, fellow Aldebaran and anyone else. Isn't this exciting?" And Jan says, "Not to push you, but are we doing another quilt along in the new year?" Yes. And good morning, Nicole. So, yes. Okay, Jan, I'm going to answer your question a little vaguely, only because I don't have the dates in front of me. We have 2 quilt-alongs for 2 new patterns on deck, officially on the schedule for 2026. Those of you who are in Quilting Rockstar University, there is a solidly non-zero chance that folks in crew will have a third very brief quilt along because it's for a cool block that we're designing. More on that soon. We're in the throes of planning right now. So right now over here at String and Story HQ, it is like full tilt. I told my therapist last night, I said, I feel like I am at mile 24 of a marathon. And for those of you who paid careful attention to what I shared about the marathon, you might remember I cried at mile 24 because that's the point where like you're so tired and you're so close, but you're not done yet. So we are running it all the way through the tape here at String and Story, meaning I am deep in getting lots of quilts quilted for folks so that they can have them to bind over the holidays. And we are deep in our 2026 planning. And let me tell you, and I know I say it every year, and I know I'm biased, but like 2026 is going to be so good. I am so excited about the stuff that we have planned for y'all. So we'll get there. But right now we are here and it is time to celebrate your gorgeous work. So thank you all of you who have joined me and welcome officially to the Aldebaran Virtual Quilt Show. We have spent weeks putting these gorgeous quilt tops together. You have learned all kinds of things, right? We have talked about how to cut and deal with bias edges. We have talked about the different ways to press so that when you're gonna have a whole bunch of seams coming together, you can manage that bulk as effectively as possible. We have talked about Y seams, right? And we've even talked about how to quilt these blocks. And along the way, we have strengthened our community and we've had a whole lot of fun. It's been a real treat, not just in this quilt along, but in every quilt along we've done this year, to get to spend regular time together and get to sew and share and hang out. And I really appreciate y'all who have taken time each and every week for most of the year, because a lot of y'all have participated in more than one quilt along with me. And I just think that's so special. So let us cap off our 2025 with one more incredible celebration of your gorgeous work. Let us check out these beautiful quilts. Jan says, "I wanted to do this quilt along and I had 2 packages of fat quarters of the same fabric. I had to add other colors and I made several string blocks and did not care for some of the fabric, so I just cut solid fabric." I love it, Jan. So Jan improvised this fabulous, this is the puppy dog's name one, right? Aldebaran quilt. And this is for a new great grandson due in February. And let me tell you, I think that it is going to be a huge hit. It is bright, it is bold, and I love that you quilted it yourself because, as we've talked a lot about lately, that was a big journey for you and you have mastered it. And this looks absolutely beautiful Well done, Jan. Margot jumped into the chat. Good morning, Margot. She said, my quilt's not yet started, but I can hardly wait to get started after the holidays are over. I know, Margot. I'm like simultaneously running it through. And also, I'm like already looking forward to the calm after the holiday storm, right? Next up is Kimberly. Kimberly says, I fussy cut Tula Pink, Curiouser, and Curiouser. That is such a fun fabric line. I worked on a quilt last week that used some of that fabric, and it's just so cool. I made in between a lap and a in between a lap and a twin size, and still needs to be quilted, but I will do it myself. Kimberly, I cannot wait to see. Please post pictures. I enjoyed the ability to adapt my color and print choices to result in a quilt that made me happy. That is such a high compliment. A quilt that makes you happy, I think, is key. So, Kimberly, mission accomplished, brilliantly done. And I absolutely love it. And I love seeing how these big, bold prints cut up. I know that that's something that we talk about sometimes, that it can be difficult to cut into those big prints. And it's cool to see that even chopping them up into triangles and then piecing them back together, this line still looks absolutely stunning. Well done, Kimberly. Then we have Sarah. Sarah said, I was rolling along and then stuff got a little bumpy as she got towards the top. But listen, Sarah, the burgers, the french fries. I am obsessed still with this bundle. I'm obsessed with how this is coming together. I hope that since you sent this in, those top blocks have started behaving a little bit better for you. I know sometimes I find with the Y seams that one day I'll be in a really beautiful groove, and the next day it's just not it. Like, it's just not going to come together. But let me tell you, this layout looks amazing. This is a chaotic color palette that we put together with kind of the remnants of Snack Shack and also some really bright solids. And I really love the way that you organized it. It looks really, really good. And I cannot wait to see it all done. And I'm dying to know how you quilt it. Bonus points if you incorporate that kind of popcorn cloud shape into the quilting. I think that would be really cool. Excellent work. Then we have Sherry. Sherry says, I use Kona solids and a mix of scraps for the stripes. And I love how calm and kind of icy this is. Like, this is a perfect winter quilt. I'm very excited to see how you're going to quilt it. I think, especially with the solids, and I feel this way about mine as well, there's a lot of opportunity to add texture. And I can't wait to see what you decide. It's going to look incredible. And well done on using up some scraps for those string blocks. I think that's fabulous. This is Shirley's, and Shirley says, I use pinks and greens to make the lap size top. And I think this is so cheerful. Shirley, one of the things that I love that you did is you used a striped fabric for your accent triangle instead of doing the string piecing. And I think that's awesome. I think that's something that's really fun about quilt alongs and about just like making patterns in general, that there's always little opportunities to make tweaks and to adapt things and to make something your own. And I love that you did that. And for any of you that maybe, you're like, I don't have scraps hanging around, I don't know what I'm going to do for those strings. Friendly reminder that you could always just put a fun print in that final triangle and it'll look really, really awesome. Well done, Shirley. And finally, we have Carolyn. Carolyn also used pinks and greens, and this just looks so like cheerful and spring to me, Carolyn. I would love to know, is this quilt for you? Is it for someone else? Fill us in. I realized that I didn't ask you that to put on the slide. But this just like screams spring to me. And as we kind of head into the very darkest couple of weeks of the year, this reminds me that it's not going to last forever. It has been unusually cold for this early in the season here in Georgia, and I am over it. But your quilt just makes me think of warmer days. So I love it. Well done, Carolyn. Well done, all of y'all. Pop the champagne. You did an absolutely incredible job. Now, before we move on, I would love to ask I got to think of the best way to ask this question. What did you like maybe enjoy learning the most? What surprised you the most? What did you enjoy the most about making Aldebaran, right? I know like I mentioned at the very top of our time together, we covered a lot of different skills in this quilt along. And I would love to know kind of what stood out to you along the way that maybe was surprising, etc. Yeah. Edith says, y'all have opened my brain to all the different combinations. A brain explosion. Carolyn says, I have a daughter that loves fall. Oh, that's so true. It could be such a warm fall quilt. I love that. And Susan says, so beautiful, everyone. Y'all really did incredible work. So yeah, I want to know what surprised you, what delighted you, etc. about this, about making this quilt pattern. Oh, and I just realized that I broke my cardinal rule. I'm drinking smoothie. We all know if I drink smoothie on camera, I'm gonna end up coughing. We can't do that. Sherry says, also beautiful, and I love how everyone's individuality comes out. Agreed. I love how some of these were very traditional color palettes, and some were very bold, and some were prints, and some were solids, and some had string piecing, and some didn't. Like, I just think I agree, Sherry. Like, everyone can truly make this their own. Jan said it was way out of my comfort zone as far as blocks go, and it was fun. Jan, you must have had fun because you're making a second one. So I'm counting that as like a huge win. Um, it is always an incredible compliment when any of y'all choose to use any of your precious quilting time to make one of my patterns. But when y'all choose to make one twice, let me tell you, I'll ride that high all week. Like, I just think that is the most incredible thing. It makes me so happy. Nicole says, I no longer fear bias edges. That is a massive win, Nicole. Absolutely massive win. Like, please go actually get some champagne or some confetti or something and celebrate that. That's huge because that opens up so many things. Edith says, I've never done triangles before. Jan says, yes, I love this pattern. Carolyn says, the Y seams were very interesting and surprising. Everyone says they're so hard. This was therapeutic for me because I slowed down and enjoyed the process. Carolyn, I love that. And it's interesting because when I was learning how to quilt, um, Y seams, free motion quilting, bias edges, like these are the things that we're like taught to fear, right? And I think it's interesting that when we talk about the actual mechanics of a Y seam, right, and really think about how seam allowances work, you still have to slow down. You still have to be careful. They're maybe not going to come out perfect every time, but to your point, Carolyn, like it's not quite the gnarly beast that everyone makes it out to be. Jan says, I'm making another baby quilt. I love that. Edith said, I learned the importance of starching and handling gently. And Sarah says, I loved making the strings. I made string mini stockings. Oh, I love that so much. Margot says, I love them all. I'm excited to try Y seams. To watch them come together was surprising to me. Proud of all of you who tried them. I love that. Y'all, this is absolutely brilliant. And I think this is a wonderful moment of like what makes quilt alongs really special is sometimes things that have been roadblocks for us, we can bust right through them when we do it together, and it opens up a whole new possibility. Edith says, I'm looking forward to Y seams. They can change and then can change to doing rows if too scary. Yes, Edith, exactly. And the rows method might be a little bit faster. That's probably worth considering. We've talked about which way we're going to construct mine here in the shop over the weekend, just based on time. But it's a really great opportunity to practice. And like you said, you can always kind of abandon ship halfway through and switch to doing it in rows if you need to. Jan says, if nothing else, pressing versus pulling those bias edges. Yes. I was teaching a sip and sew last week and we were making aprons, right? So pressing versus ironing was like not really a big issue. And we were kind of talking about that. But I think it's worth noting like there are times when pressing versus ironing or versus pulling is going to make a difference. And knowing when to tell that it's going to matter and adjust your technique accordingly, right? Jan says, I did the rose method. No, it's very easy. I love that. Rockstars, you're amazing. So from here, what's next? Well, if you have not yet quilted your Aldebaran, then I'm going to presume that the next thing is getting it quilted. And as you may already know, we have put together a lovely resource over on the blog with some suggested quilting plans. The link is here on the screen. I'm also posting it in the chat. I'll make sure it's in the caption on the replay. stringandstory.com/blog/quilting plans-4-Aldebaran. And on that, I go through and I talk about several different ways that you can quilt this quilt, kind of in increasing complexity. I hope that it's inspiring to you if you have not yet quilted your quilt. And anytime I post a blog like this, right, and I have drawn out quilting plans, please always know that you can straight up copy it. That's why I put together resources like this, because sometimes we just hit a little bit of a roadblock, right? And we're like, I'm looking at it, and I just can't think of how I want to quilt it. And sometimes the answer in that solution is to do something really simple, right? We've got a dogwood blossoms that hangs here in the shop, and I was very roadblocked about how I wanted to quilt it. And Marcy finally put her hands on my shoulders one day and was like, I love you so much. Please loopy meander and get it done. I'm tired of hearing you talk about it. And we need the quilt finished, right? There's a time and a place for that. But sometimes you just need a little bit of extra inspiration. Sometimes you just need someone else to draw the quilting plan so you can just enjoy quilting it. That's exactly why I've created this resource. And it's exactly why I create a lot of resources like this, because I want to make it easier for you to do fun stuff on your quilts. Okay. Jan, I am also very excited for mine. For those of you who don't know, Quilting Rockstar University, which I'll talk more about in just a second, um, Quilting Rockstar University has a masterclass scheduled for last week. So those of you who are in crew, watch your email tomorrow. We're going to get this official invite sent out to you. But we're having a masterclass next week where I'm going to quilt my Aldebaran live on camera, and I'm going to be doing the snowflake quilting plan that is in the blog. And I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be challenging to do on the domestic, but I think it's going to look really, really cool. I've done a similar quilting plan in the past and really enjoyed it. Edith said, even though I stalled, I followed and can catch up later. And I really started thinking about quilting plans instead of doing that at the same time that I sit down with it at the machine. Yes. And Edith, sometimes I think, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm chain piecing, my brain kind of needs something to do while I'm just pushing things through the machine. And sometimes the quilting plan is what I think about of like, okay, I'm messing with all these shapes. Let me think about them and think about the quilting that would work. So, speaking of quilting, if you're like, man, those quilting plans look really cool, but I'm not actually sure how to do them, this is why we have Quilting Rockstar University. Quilting Rockstar University is our all inclusive membership that includes Free Motion Quilting Academy, Ruler Quilting Academy, Custom Quilting Academy, long arm prep, and a ton of live support, including this very cool event that we have next week where I'm going to be quilting Aldebaran live on camera. And we would love to have you join us. Enrollment is not open right now, but we do have a wait list. I'm going to drop that link down in the chat, because if you are curious about being able to quilt your own quilts, maybe you've done it a little bit, but you want to do it a lot more, or maybe you've always been too scared to try and you're looking for a safe place to learn step by step, then Quilting Rockstar University is for you. So I've dropped that link in the chat. Get your name on that wait list, and you'll be the first to know when enrollment opens again. Carolyn says, I'm very excited to see how you do the snowflakes on a domestic. It's going to be interesting, not to jump the gun too much, but clearly I'm excited and thinking about this. If I were doing it on the long arm, I know for certain that I would go block by block. I'm not sure if I'll do that or if I'll do like all the ruler work and then all the free motion. The ruler work is going to be the hardest part because it's kind of big ruler work. We'll find out together on Tuesday, Carolyn. And I kind of do that on purpose where I'm figuring it out live on camera because I want y'all to see what that process looks like, right? Edith says, I love crew, learn so much and start recognizing people in their work. Tons of stuff available. I love that, Edith. Rockstars, thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you that are members of crew, I'll see you for a little bit more Aldebaran action next week. For the rest of you, please check out that blog, get your name on the wait list, and give one last huzzah in the chat for all of these amazing rock stars who have finished their Aldebaran quilt tops and for all of y'all who are still in process. Do make sure you share progress as you go along inside the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group or inside the crew community portal. I would absolutely love to see as you keep going. Y'all are incredible. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.